So who is eager to go on vacation? Maybe you're eager to finish that home improvement project. Maybe you're like us and you're eager to welcome a new baby into the family. What about your giving? Are you eager to give? Well, today we're going to talk about our eagerness to give and to serve.
My name's Pete, and this is my lovely wife, Shauna, and on a daily basis, we invite you into our home to share in the discipleship process. And today, we're studying 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 1 through 5. And I'm going to read the first two verses so we begin our discussion. For as touching the ministering to the saints, it is superfluous for me to write unto you. For I know the forwardness of your mind, for which I boast of them of Macedonia, and that Achaia was ready a year ago, and your zeal hath provoked very many.
Alright, so the Apostle Paul is writing this letter to the Corinthian church, and this week we're on 2 Corinthians chapter 9. Last week, at chapter 8, we actually talked about giving all week, and a lot of times when we talk about giving in our finances, we talk about the condition of our heart, and what our willingness is, what our goals are, what our heart for God is. So the Apostle Paul is commending the Corinthian church on their eagerness to give.
He uses that big word zeal. It's a four-letter word, but it has a lot of meaning, which meant that they were excited to do it.
Yeah. There was a lot of passion behind it.
Right, there was some passion involved in giving, and he says that their zeal to give provoked others to give. It made other people say, look, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah, that's right. And if you pay attention in your life, your eagerness or your zeal to do something can definitely be catching with other people. It can flow from breast to breast, as the scripture talks about. We know that what we do is going to directly affect those around us.
So the thing we have to realize is that we have to be willing. Right, and we have to be zealous to go out and do these things. Whenever we see someone in need, that we have to be willing to jump on that opportunity and meet that need for that individual. Something that in the Good Samaritan story that we realize is that the religious people of that time was not zealous to help the person who was in pain, the person who was in the ditch, who needed a doctor, who needed care, who needed attendance. They wasn't zealous to do it. Matter of fact, they turned a blind eye to it. Basically, they just walked by without looking at the individual, and they went on their way.
They considered themselves first.
Right. And then the individual who come along, who was a Samaritan, he said, you know what, I'm going to help this person. And he went above and beyond to help him. He got him up, bandaged him up, took him to an inn and paid money for the innkeeper to keep him, went above and beyond because he loved that person. He didn't know that individual, but he had love for his fellow man.
And it's sometimes we pass judgment very quickly on the religious people that were there, the teacher of the law and the priest. But the thing was, they understood that through the law of Moses, that they were going to be unclean for a little while. They were going to have to dish out some of their own money for a little while. So they really considered the things and how it was going to affect them. And we're all guilty of that.
Maybe they didn't have time.
Yeah, maybe they didn't. Maybe they were in a hurry, a rush of things, and a lot of times we find ourselves there. We find ourselves in a hurry. We find ourselves, that's going to really inconvenience. Man, that's going to mess up my plans. What am I going to do here? How am I going to have the finances for that if I help this person? So a lot of times we just have to set ourselves aside and ask God to lead us, even when the journey may be difficult, and give God the opportunity to love through us.
Right. Don't ever be afraid to inconvenience yourself for someone else. You look at that story of the Good Samaritan and you realize that individual loved his brother, right? Even though he didn't know that individual. The Samaritan was someone who wasn't looked on as favorable to the Jewish people. They were less than human. They were half-breeds, and they didn't like them. But this Samaritan showed the love that we all need to show. He was willing to go out of his way. He was willing to inconvenience himself. He was willing to put his money where his mouth was and help an individual in need. We can't continue to turn a blind eye to those around us who are in need. Now, we may not see someone laying in the ditch, or unwilling to call 911, but we see people around us suffering all the time.
It's true.
And a lot of times we say it's easier for us to ignore them and go about our way than to put ourselves into their circumstances because we don't want inconvenienced.
Our eagerness has become conditional. if the situation's right, the circumstances are right, it's really easy to help somebody in your family and that is working hard and being diligent and doing what they're supposed to do, but they just fell on hard times. It's a lot easier to help someone like that than it is to reach out the hand to the drug addict or the person who is addicted to gambling and now they can't pay their bill or they can't provide food for their family. It's very difficult. I'll be honest with you, I struggle sometimes with that because, you want to make sure that what you're doing is not going to be taken advantage of. But God is going to judge us on our actions and our intentions. And they'll be judged on their actions and intentions.
Jeremiah's got a fake sword attacking something on the couch right now, if you hear that in the background. But going forward this week, be eager to help individuals. You know what? Have some zeal in your giving, in your charity, right? Yeah. Go about and may you be a light to other people. May other people see how happy you are to give and to help, and they say, I want to be that type of person.
Absolutely.
So remember to read the scripture every day this week, 2 Corinthians chapter 9. Study it with your family, discuss it, go in depth. And we believe and we encourage you that you will do 4 things in your life if you're a disciple of Jesus Christ every single day. Those things are:
you intentionally get up and you encounter God. You exalt God. You edify yourself with the reading of the Word, and you engage the world for Christ. So until next time, God bless you.
God bless.